Hi, I'm Rob and this is Gems of War. In this video I'm going to take a look in the Soulforge and give you my opinion on what I think is good and bad in there, what's worth crafting and what's worth just blatantly and utterly avoiding. But first things first, on a Monday always pop to the shop and make sure you grab the weekly event new troop. This one is Sky Goat. What this does, it deals damage to 3 random enemies with independent 50% chances to stun them. The traits are nothing fantastic. A 10% chance to create a wish gem when my turn begins is the most interesting, but that can work for you and against you at the same time, depends upon who manages to get it first. The spell is nothing fantastic, but again, just grab this thing anyway. It's effectively free if you've got enough glory, and always get it all the way up to Mythic if you can. If you've got enough glory, worth taking to Mythic, then level up to level 20. You've got another troop in your roster which is Mythic and level 20, which is going to add to the power of your kingdoms eventually, so totally worth doing. And after you've done that, make sure you go to resources and grab the spoils of war. You can get 10 of these as well if you've got enough glory. Gives you extra event keys, extra gold, extra souls, which is always nice to have. Now to the Soulforge itself. I'm not going to look at the weapons that are there all the time. They're in previous Soulforge videos, like Trick and Treat is there all the time. So is Soul of Xanathos, Heart of Xanathos, etc. So I'm only going to look at the ones which are new for this week. The first one is a Prism Staff. Choose a colour, remove all gems of that colour, and deal a scatter damage boosted by the gems removed. Now the gems are removed from the board with no effect, so they're just literally just taking away a colour, which can be useful sometimes. It's possible to create a deliberate 4 match when removing a certain gem, but it does reduce the viability of a weapon like this, and that damage, even for me, is actually pretty low. It's only a ×2 boost ratio as well, so more of a completist weapon there, nothing that you're going to get and be a game changer. Doomed Rod creates 4 blue gems plus 1 gem per tempering level, and then give 35 in my case armor to all the green allies. If the enemy has a doom, eliminate all armor from a random enemy. And this uses green, so we need an all green team to make this work properly, to make sure we give that armor to all allies possible, but then it creates blue gems, so we have to ensure we have blue allies in our team as well. So this is very much forcing you to pick a certain type of team to make this effective. And if the enemy has a doom, eliminate all armor from a random enemy, which could be the first enemy who you've already hit with a few skulls and reduced or eliminated the armor from already. So this is a pretty terrible doomed weapon for me. Wow, not very good at all. Glaive of Many Goats deals damage to an enemy boosted by wild folk allies. Then create a mix of 6 green and yellow gems for each wild folk ally. So we're getting these on a common basis at the moment. Every week these same kind of weapons are coming out, but based on the kingdom or type of ally. Who it's for. Uses red and brown, so obviously you do need to make sure the rest of the allies in the team use green and yellow to make the most of this, but it can be good. Yasmin's Pride. Eliminate all armor from an enemy. Give all allies life boosted by armor eliminated. So yeah, an okay weapon, nothing great at all at the same time. Similar to the other one, this deals damage to an enemy boosted by Pan's Veil allies this time. Then create a mix of 6 green and yellow gems for each Pan's Veil ally. So again, if you're using all a Pan's Veil team, make sure there's some green and yellow ones in there, and this would be a good weapon. Soul of Xanathos, Heart of Xanathos, Dawnstone are there all the time. Slay Bells deal damage to an enemy and 1 random enemy. Steal 1 magic from the enemy. Wow. A lot of underwhelming weapons right now. These are there all the time. The Cursebreaker ones are there only because I have the Soulforge to level 20, and I'll be looking at those real soon. Loot of the Veil. Remove all green gems, again with no effect, no damage dealt or mana gained. And deal damage to an enemy boosted by gems removed. And if the enemy is from Pan's Veil, deal a double damage. So you have to make sure you basically don't use green with this team, because you're removing all the gems you would use otherwise with 0 effect, and you have to make sure you're fighting a team from Pan's Veil. So again, a very completist weapon, and that was not very interesting weapons there, unfortunately. So let's take a look at the troops. Astral Mother. Got 3 of these. Didn't realise that. It's a shame because she's not that good. Mythic uses 24 mana to get charged, then removes all gems of a chosen colour, again with no effect, and deals only, even in my case, 39 true scatter damage boosted by the gems removed. Now the boost ratio is times 5, but let's compare this to, say, the Queen Beatrix. Queen Beatrix deals true scatter damage, but there'll have to be something like 12 or 14 gems of the colour you're removing from there just to equal the damage that Queen Beatrix does. And that's a legendary which uses way less mana. And Queen Beatrix also has a 40% chance to get half her mana back and an extra turn. I don't get it. This thing's, for me, nothing like as good as Queen Beatrix. I mean, yeah, of course, with that remove gems of a chosen colour with no effect, there is a certain amount of board control over that, where you can see what you're going to remove, and that may cause a cascade which can gain you other mana or an extra turn, but those opportunities are few and far between. Beatrix can just cast again and again and again and get on one of those crazy looping runs, but it just wipes out the team, and that's a legendary, and this is a mythic. And the third trait is 40% chance to give Reflect to a random ally when my turn begins. I mean, even something like the Mirror Queen, isn't that a legendary? Isn't that 100% chance to give Reflect to someone? I just don't get why this is so bad. I feel like I'm missing something, but I'm pretty sure I'm not at the same time. There it is, Astral Mother. Hatayo Ascendant, Leonis Tower are here all the time. Amarok deals damage to an enemy, and then there is a 2% chance to devour them, boosted by red gems and burning enemies. If the enemy dies, create 9 red gems. So the traits are burn and stun a random enemy when matching 4 or more gems is ish okay. Stone Skin is decent, and being immune to burning and fairy fire just okay. But yeah, you've got to set up a team around that to get that to work properly, and even then it's not going to be a fantastic chance of getting that devour. Not particularly a fan of these teams that have a devour percentage chance. Pycea is an exception, High King Irongut is an exception as well, but in general not really for me. Obsidius deals heavy splash damage to a random enemy, then destroys a 5x5 block, which is 25 gems. Then there's a 50% chance to deal light splash damage to a random enemy. So, can be good. There's a very good damage dealer, also a mana generator, and also that awesome third trait, stun all enemies on 4 or 5 gem matches, is really, really handy at the same time. And easily, so far, the pick of the bunch. Enraged Kurandara and Zul'Goth are there all the time. Skadi freezes and mana burns the first 2 enemies, knock them to last position, and summon Queen Mab. Nothing special on the traits. Create an ice storm at the start of every turn is useful in an all blue team. And gain 1 magic when an ally casts a spell is a little bit too slow now, the way the game is. It's like that's going to be just too slow to be effective. And the thing is with Skadi now, I don't think she was that great when she first came out, but there's more and more enemies being immune to mana burn. So that is how she deals her damage. The summon is quite handy. Queen Mab is fairly useful, but again, and nothing great mythic for me there. Xanathos is there all the time, and that looks like that's the last of the mythics. We'll go over the legendaries quick, but I never recommend crafting legendaries because these pop up in chests way more than mythics do. So let's take a look at these just ever so quickly. Yau Guai. Now, if there's any legendary troop that should have been a mythic, it's this one. He's absolutely superb. Deals damage to the first 2 enemies boosted by my life. Then steal 4 magic from both enemies, which is going to push that damage up even further. Then transform all purple gems to red. You can clearly see if you're going to be able to get an extra turn from this at the same time. And because he transforms them to red, he boosts himself up again and gets a chance to do that again. And the fact that he steals 3 life from the first enemy when matching red gems means his traits and the way his spell works just synergizes so perfectly with himself, and it's just a fantastic troop. And if you don't have this one, I'm going to actually go against what I said a minute ago. This, I would say, for legendary is actually worth crafting. It may be a long time before it randomly just turns up in chests, but Yau Guai, for me, is basically a mythic. So craft this guy if you don't have him. He's absolutely superb. Queen Grapple Pot. Deals damage to all enemies, boosted by ally and enemy goblins, and gains an extra turn. Gets the obligatory extra turn, and this is a fairly decent troop for dealing the damage to all. So if you want a damage to all team and a bunch of goblins, this is a fairly decent troop, and all allied goblins gain 5 life on 4 or 5 gem matches, which in a looping goblin team, that can really add up. So again, a very decent legendary troop there. Queen Mab. A few years ago, she was really good. You saw this in a lot of teams with the likes of Valkyrie, Justice, I think it was. They'd done like a looping blue team, and she was really dangerous a few years ago. Those icy blue eyes caused all sorts of problems, but not so much anymore. There's just so many troops now immune to mana burn, and it's just too slow, and it's just not enough damage to be effective these days. So poor old Queen Mab was viable once, not so much anymore. Hydra, bit of a strange troop this one. Deals scatter damage boosted by my missing life. So basically the closer to actual death you are, the more damage you're going to do, which is a bit strange, but interesting I suppose, and just, you know, just good to be a bit different from other troops, but don't really see how that's useful. All enemies take 3 damage when they deal skull damage is an okay trait, and gain 2 life on 4 or 5 gem matches is pretty slow, but overall Hydra, you just don't see it in teams. You just don't. It's just not that great. Drenza is only there, and the rest of them are only there because I've got the Soulforge to level 20 with Darksmith Brenda there. So on the troops, there's only one winner, and that is Obsidius. Very clear winner. My pick of the week this week. There he is. Deals heavy splash damage to a random enemy, and basically skill does a load of damage. He's a mana generator, and he can stun all enemies just by simply getting a 4 match. That is really good. Works really well in elemental teams, on red teams as well, and utterly worth crafting. But on a side note, Yau Guai as well is the only legendary I think I've ever recommended to go and just get. He's basically a mythic. So if you don't have Yau Guai and you're a newer player, go and get him. He's absolutely superb. So there's a Soulforge review. If you enjoyed it or found it helpful, be sure to hit those like and subscribe buttons, because I do one of these every single week. And later on today, I'll be doing my team for the current event. So be sure to check back later on to see what that is all about. See you again next time. Bye for now.